Good evening. Donald Trump ended his short trip to the UK with a second round of golf at his resort at Turnberry before flying out of Prestwick this afternoon. Earlier, police confirmed they'd arrested and charged a 55-year-old man in connection with a breach of security involving a paragliding stunt. From Turnberry, David Henderson reports.
He's the most controversial man on the planet, but Donald Trump's day began in peace and quiet, out on his golf course, with no protester in sight. He spent 2 nights here at Trump Turnberry, the golf resort he bought and named after himself. Despite the security, a place of calm on a journey packed with conflict. But even here, he's kept taking pot shots at America's long-term allies.
Don't forget, both my parents were born in EU sectors, okay? I mean, my mother was Scotland, my father was Germany, and, you know, I love those countries. I respect the leaders of those countries, but in a trade sense, they've really taken advantage of us.
Donald Trump hasn't escaped the protests. Police Scotland say they've now arrested a man after this stunt on Friday night, a paraglider breaching security as the president watched the sunset. Demonstrations too across Scotland, thousands taking to the streets to voice their anger at what he stands for.
So Donald Trump is off again, his motorcade taking to the roads of Ayrshire en route to a meeting with the Russian president.
A wave as he left, supporters out on the road to say goodbye. Then a dash through the town of Maybole, all the way to Prestwick Airport and Air Force One. Wheels up and away, the president leaving Scotland behind. It's a country he says he loves, but not all of Scotland loves him back. David Henderson, reporting Scotland, Turnberry.
Our political editor Brian Taylor has been in Turnberry and says the president's UK visit felt somewhat incomplete.
After all, the president met the Queen, but it wasn't a full official state visit with all the panoply that attracts. He faced demonstrations here in Scotland, vigorous, passionate protest, but it didn't seem to impinge directly upon him for understandable reasons of security, and he was able to continue here at Turnberry to relax and to play a couple of rounds of golf on the famous links, although of course those protests may impinge indirectly over a longer period of time. In terms of the impact of the politics here in this UK visit, it also seemed to me incomplete. In advance of the meeting with Theresa May, he had effectively trashed her Brexit compromise, and then he rode back from that at a bizarre, remarkable joint news conference where the Prime Minister's face looked anxious and concerned. Throughout, it seems to me this has been an incomplete weekend, an interregnum between being at NATO and going from Turnberry here to the talks with President Putin in Finland.
Sutherland is now in prime position to be the site of the UK's first spaceport. The Westminster government is giving £2.5 million to develop the proposal for a vertical launch site on the Alvonia Peninsula. Here's our science correspondent, Kenneth MacDonald.
The Sutherland spaceport would launch small and medium-sized satellites, the kind of probes already made in Scotland. There are more Glasgow-built satellites in orbit than from any other city in Europe, and a Scottish site would avoid having to send them abroad to be launched. Several obstacles remain to be overcome, like a formal licence, planning permission and infrastructure. Hundreds of jobs are in prospect, especially if the rockets are built nearby. Several other sites in Scotland, Wales and England are still contending for spaceport status for horizontal as well as vertical launches. So while the Avonia site may become the UK's first by the early 2020s, it's unlikely to be the only one.
On to golf, and the Scottish Open has been won by South Africa's Brandon Stone, who set a new course record in the process. Kenny Crawford reports from Gullin.
It's a third European Tour title for Brandon Stone, and he did it here at Gullin in style. The 25-year-old carded a 10 under par 60 to finish 4 strokes clear on 20 under of England's Eddie Pepperell.
It was just one of those days where everything just went right. Hit it spectacularly, drove the ball really well, managed the emotions really well too. And then, like I said, there was those moments during the round that really made me feel like it was my time for the week.
Top Scot at the Scottish Open was Stephen Gallagher, who finished 9th on 13 under par, and that gives him a timely boost to his season. And the other bonus for Brandon Stone is that win gets him in to the Open at Carnoustie on Thursday, and that is where attention turns now. Kenny Crawford, reporting Scotland in Gullin.
Time for the forecast. Here's Judith.
Thank you very much, Sally, and a very good evening to you. Well, we did see some rain today, and indeed most of us would say much welcome rain. Here's the back edge of that rain over Isla. One of our weather watchers sent this picture in earlier on. Now, I'm sure you're saying to yourself, that's summer over, but it's not, because actually the week ahead is looking very settled. A lot of dry weather in the forecast. Yes, we'll see some afternoon showers bubbling up, but it will be a fresher feel, but still pleasant nonetheless, and winds will stay light. Now, we still have the weather front we saw that brought today's rain lying across the country at the moment, bringing further outbreaks of rain as we head through this evening, but by tomorrow morning, that rain will become confined to eastern Scotland and the Northern Isles as well. Then it starts to brighten up nicely from the west, 1 or 2 afternoon showers breaking out, but not much to write home about. And as far as the rest of the UK is concerned, Northern Ireland the same as us, brightening up, but we see this band of showers running down the western side of the UK, some heavy sharp ones within it. Ahead of that front though, dry with warm sunny spells, still very high temperatures, 29 Celsius. Back here in Scotland, 18 to 21 degrees, and actually that's not bad for this time of year. That rain continuing to affect parts of the east later tomorrow afternoon. It does eventually clear away. Largely dry for tomorrow evening with some brighter sunny spells, any showers dying away. Plenty of dry weather to come on Tuesday. Highs of around about 20, 21 Celsius. That's your forecast.
Thank you very much. And that's all from us tonight. Our next update is during breakfast at 6:25 tomorrow morning. From all of us here on the Late Team, good night.